Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fantasy Sports Insight, or FSI DFS. My name is McKinley412, and today we're looking at this 9-game slate for Monday. No games yesterday, which was strange, but oh well, we're back. But I don't think we go for the rest of the season without a game outside of the All-Star break. So 9 games, it's a pretty straightforward cash build, and that's kind of what we're going to be. Well, we won't focus on the cash build, but I'm going to be kind of giving you what the cash build's going to be and how to kind of build along with it. And then we'll go talk about some GPP lines that we might want to be stacking together and going on from there. So let's take a look at the odds first. A couple notables that we do have to be paying attention to. Pittsburgh at Montreal. Pittsburgh's a large favorite at minus 255. Over under is 6.5, so a lot of goals. Pittsburgh is expected to score here. Toronto, Arizona. Toronto is laughably a minus 550 on the money line, minus 2.5 on the puck line. You don't see that often. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath. Arizona is historically arguably one of the worst teams that we've seen in quite some time, and Toronto has that amazing offense at home. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to be going with the cash. And then the other team that we should be paying attention to is the Rangers at minus 245 on the money line at home, hosting the Anaheim Ducks, who have been allowing a lot of high danger chances in front of the net, a lot of shots on the goal. And New York, well, they're peppering the net with high danger chances, so that's going to be a nice match for the Rangers there. Everything else is pretty straightforward, pretty even on the money lines, nothing super out of the ordinary or anything. Carolina is a pretty decent favorite going on the road at Seattle, but that's pretty much it. It's like your three-headed monster of Pittsburgh, Toronto, and the New York, and then, kind of everybody else from there. So let's look at the cash build first here. We already mentioned how Toronto is just an absurd favorite at home, and you're going to be wanting to play that top line of theirs. Matthews, Marner, and Bunting. I know Bunting doesn't get any power play time, but still, he's only 4,000. He's going to be playing on that top line with Matthews and Marner. The opportunity is there for that line to score 3 goals and him to be involved maybe on 2 of them, maybe even all of them, who knows. But Matthews, Marner, and Bunting, I think, is going to be where you just kind of need to start your lineups. If you don't want to go all 3, at least pick Matthews and Marner, and then pair another Toronto piece in there, whether it's a Tavares or a Nylander. Pay attention to Nylander. He was sick, so he was out of practice yesterday, but so make sure he's in the lineup. A guy like Mulligan, whatever you want. But make sure you probably want at least 3 Toronto skaters in your cash builds here tonight. Matthews, Marner, very pricey. So you can also add in Alexis Lafreniere. Only 3,000 still. I mentioned how the Rangers are going to be a team that we want to target tonight. They're probably going to be a safe team to target. Lafreniere, he's on that second line. He plays on the power play unit for the Rangers, and he's shooting the puck a ton. He had 4 shots in his first game, 4 shots in his next game, and 5 shots in his last game. So he's averaging almost that shot on goal bonus, and he's still only 3,000. I like this spot for Lafreniere. I think I mentioned him as like a favorite value play in his last game where he got the shot bonus at 3K. I think he might be one of my favorite value plays on the slate again at just 3K. So I think this is probably where you're going to want to be starting your cash builds and then filling it out from there. What do you do? There's many different routes that you could go. We're going to kind of stick with this Toronto, Pittsburgh, New York Rangers just because they're all such heavy favorites in high total games. These 3 really stand out from everybody else in terms of implied goal totals. So if you go with the Rangers route, you could fill it in with Zibanejad. Because, this guy's been shooting the puck a ton. He's at home. He lights up the lamp a lot. So, sure, great. But he's 8K. It is going to be extremely difficult to build out from there. Because if you go with a goaltender, we'll just throw in a goaltender in the mid-tier here. We'll just go right in the middle. That's all I'm doing. I was closing my eyes. Don't check that. But you're left with 3-7 remaining for everybody else. It's possible. It's doable, certainly. But you're not going to really be able to get many of, Zibanejad's line mates on there. Where is he? Here, let me filter out the Rangers. So, Chris Kreider, one of his line mates, you can't do it. It's impossible. Kako, you could go down to him at 4K. He's been kind of a disappointment. all things considered, I still have very high hopes for this guy. I think he really can move things forward. But you got two right wingers here with Lafreniere and Kakko, so they're not going to be on the ice together. So that is also a little bit of a disappointment. So it's going to be kind of tough to go with Zibanejad. But maybe what you could do, you got Zibanejad and Lafreniere. Maybe you go down to a guy like Panarin, 2.7K for your D. It's possible. You could squeeze it in. It's kind of tight. But Zibanejad and Panarin, they get correlation on the power play unit. And then Lafreniere and Panarin, they get correlation at even strength. So you're kind of swinging around Panarin as your like your main pivot point. And, if he's on a goal or an assist, pretty good chance that, one of these two guys is going to be on the receiving end. So maybe you go there with your cash build. Another place you could go if you want to go to the Pittsburgh side of things is, again, getting, Crosby and Guentzel, like the top line Pittsburgh, it's probably not going to be happening there. Raquel does skate on the top line, but he doesn't get any power play unit, so I'm not super thrilled with that. But on the Pittsburgh side, I think maybe you go down to the second line of them. You go down to a Malkin and a Rust pairing. Malkin and Rust, they skate together at even strength. Maybe Montreal's going to be focusing heavily on that top Pittsburgh line. They're at home. They can, match up the lines however they want. So maybe they, put their best defenders out on Crosby and Guentzel in that top line, whereas Malkin and Rust can skate a little bit more free. Malkin and Rust, they skate on the top power play unit, and they're cheaper. So this gives you 3.5K remaining for the rest of your defenders. So I kind of actually really like this as like a start, or as like the initial where you could go for cash. I'm not going to build a full line or anything. And obviously I'm not really sure I want Swayman and net here. We'll see. But still, I think that's a great start. This might be one of my favorite starts in terms of a cash build initially looking here. So, but you're going to need some value to go along with some guys along the way. So picked out some value plays that you could be going. The first one's going to be Gustafsson. Eric Gustafsson, 2.5K, super cheap. He plays on the top power play unit for Washington. Washington, they are playing, let's see, what's their odds? -138, so not too much of a heavy favorite, but still. Anytime you can get a min-price defender on the top power play unit, and he blocks shots quite a bit. So he can hit that shot block bonus. Maybe he gets an assist on the power play. Who knows? But at 2.5K, I think he is a little bit too underpriced here. Sticking with Washington, I do think this is kind of where a lot of the value kind of does lie. Dylan Strome, 4.1K. He skates on that top power play unit, and he skates on the top line with Ovechkin. He bumped Kuznetsov out of that spot. Kuznetsov got dropped down to the second line. Dylan Strome's taken over. So I don't mind him there. He's got a point in quite a few games here. He had an assist last game with Ovechkin. So I think Strome could be a nice play at 4.1 or a nice value play. And then another value play on Washington, who also skates on the top power play unit, Johansson. 2.5K min price. So don't mind him here. I still laugh because Johansson's in a Sabres jersey. He hasn't played for the Sabres in like 3 years. DK, get it together. If you're watching this video, I know you're not, but get it together. Come on. But yeah, I think a lot of value goes in to Washington. I mean, only one player above 3.8K. That's absurd. That is not okay. Connor Brown, he skates on the top line as well, 3.1K. But I do think Washington has a lot of value to go with their lines. On the LA side of things, Velarde, 2.5K. I'm giving you a lot of min-price options that you could be going in here. Velarde's been doing very well so far this season. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists in his first 3 games. He's skating on that top power play unit. He's got a wicked shot. So Velarde, I think, could be a nice cheap min-price value play that you could be pairing with a lot of like the top price guys of Pittsburgh, the top price guys of Toronto, and those guys moving forward. So cash, I think stick with those 3 teams of Pittsburgh, Toronto, and New York Rangers, and kind of like build around this starting here. I think my favorite might be that Pittsburgh line 2, but obviously I'm going to be building more throughout the day, kind of seeing where values come out, shake out. Pay attention to the morning line rushes, the practices as well, because that's where you kind of see where the value really crops up. Maybe somebody moves up, maybe somebody's sick, and they got to sit out. So that's where some of the value kind of creeps up from there. So let's turn our attention towards some GPP builds. We'll just keep a goalie in here just to kind of like give us a good understanding of where salary lies with everything. So, Boston, they're going up against Florida. They're at home. Boston has generated the most high danger chances so far this season per game, like at their rate, essentially. How many times are they doing it per game? They're going up against Florida. Florida's a team that, they like to get up and down the ice. It is high event hockey. It's high scoring. I saw it last game out going up against the Sabres. Love the Sabres. But yeah, it's high event hockey with Florida. So I think that could pose well for Boston. And their top line, they had a beautiful spot against Arizona at home. They scored 5 goals. And the top line did nothing. It was incredible. The Chalk absolutely bombed out there, but maybe they see some reduced ownership with that. So their top line, it's going to be, if I go utility, it's going to mess everything up. But it's going to be Bergeron, Hall, and Craig Smith. So very affordable. You got 5.3K remaining to play with everything else. You can easily jam in like that top Toronto line if you really wanted to. I don't think many people are going to be going to Boston in cash. I really don't think so. But I think that, this could be you could go, what I mean is not a lot of people are going Boston 1 in cash. So you could play chalk with the rest of your lineup because I don't think a lot of people are going to be going with Boston. You've kind of already differentiated yourself away from that Toronto 1 chalk that is going to be there. So I don't mind that as a nice starting point for like a GPP line that you could be targeting. On the Toronto side of things, everybody is going to be going Matthews, Marner, and Bunting. So maybe instead of going line 1, maybe you go with their second line. Pay attention to Nylander. He was sick. He was out of practice. So make sure he is healthy in there. But going Nylander, Malgin, and Tavares, look how cheap these guys are. Super cheap, very affordable. So you can jam in whoever you want from there. So I don't mind that as another GPP line that you could be targeting. On the Pittsburgh side of things, we already talked about how that top line is just way too expensive to really fit in like that Toronto one. So maybe you go with Crosby, Guentzel. Raquel is the third guy on here. He doesn't get any power play time with Crosby and Guentzel, so it is kind of a bummer. But this has been one of the best lines in hockey to start off this season. They have been phenomenal. They have been fantastic. And this is a line that you could honestly pair with that Toronto 2 that I was talking about. Maybe you want to pair them with Nylander. Maybe you want to pair them with Tavares. And you're looking at 3.6K remaining. Very possible, very affordable. You can do it. Throw in Malgin there. Boom. You got it. That is a Pittsburgh-Toronto GPP stack. Love it. That looks really good in my opinion. Washington, kind of already talked about Washington and that top line of Ovechkin, Strome, and Brown. Ovechkin's 8K, he's super expensive, but Strome and Brown, these guys are dirt cheap. 3.1, 4.1. They all skate together on the power play unit, which is what we really want, is just line mates that are skating together all the time on even strength, cheap on the power play, whatever it is. So I don't mind that as a nice line stack if you really want to. LA Detroit, what's the over on LA Detroit? 6.5. So they're expecting some goals in this game. 6.5 is one of the higher totals on the slate today. Very even matchup, so both sides of this game could see some action. LA has been involved in they've been allowing a lot of shots against so far this season per game. I know it's only been 2-3 games for most teams, but still, it is kind of concerning how many shots they are letting up. Detroit on the other side, they can let up quite a few high danger chances. So maybe you want to go with that top line of LA, of Fiala, Kempe, and Kopitar. Detroit, their top line is Bertuzzi, day-to-day, Raymond, and Dylan Larkin. But maybe you want to throw in Moritz Seider in there at 5.5K. He's just fantastic. His salary is going to be going up throughout the season. 5.5K is too cheap. But you can kind of see if I just cover both these teams and do the utility, they don't have a single player above 5.6 on either side. And it's going to be a high-scoring game. 6.5 over-under, trending towards the over. That game should see quite a few goals, and everybody is very affordable. Colorado going up against Minnesota. Minnesota just let up, 7 goals, I think it was, last game. McKinnon did see a price drop, so he's only 7.5K. It's going to be one of the cheaper points that you're going to see McKinnon in this entire season. McKinnon 7.5, Lehkonen, he plays on the top line with Colorado, and he's still sub 5K. His price is going to be going up throughout the season as well, so maybe you want to be targeting there. Not a whole lot of interest in this this Winnipeg Dallas game, to be completely honest. And then round things out, Carolina, probably my favorite GPP line for them would be their second line. Nechas at 4.9. He did very well. Last game out, we were super high on him, and he got that clutch first goal for us. But 4.9K for Nechas, Kotkaniemi at 2.8K, and then rounding things out on that second line is Svechnikov. One thing we like about this line is that they also skate together on that second power play unit, so it's nice for that GPP. They play late in the night. It still happens even a decade plus into DFS. People, we see higher ownerships on the early games because people don't like to wait to the late games. It happens. It's weird. I don't know why. People would rather, play bad plays and see them early than wait and get money. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. You are going to be starting your builds with this Toronto, Marner, Bunting, and Matthews. GPP. And then throwing Lafreniere in there. GPP, I really like that Toronto 2, Pittsburgh 2 stack that you could be going. And then just kind of change things up from there. Kind of gave you my favorite plays from each of the games and rounding things out. So good luck in your contest today. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.